Hello and welcome to the World Wanderers podcast. I'm Ryan.
I'm Amanda, and we're your hosts.
And today we're going to be talking about happiness and traveling. A little break from our routine to have a deeper discussion about traveling to be happy. So I don't think it's a stretch to say that happiness is kind of the number one thing people are looking for while they're traveling. Do you?
No, I don't think it's a stretch to say that. Perhaps it's not the conscious thing that they're searching for. Like, I don't know the first time that we went traveling if I was like, I'm going out to find happiness. I think that I was like, felt the need to get away and felt this need to be away from home. And now that I'm more conscious of the way I feel, I can see that I was searching for my own happiness. Yeah,
and trying to get away from things that were making you unhappy as well.
Yeah.
So happiness is maybe not the number one conscious reason, the reason people are telling their friends to go, but it's a reason people go traveling for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So what does happiness mean to you?
That's a good question. And that's something that I've recently been asked. I said that my biggest thing in life is that whatever I'm doing, I want to be happy. And the person that I told said, well, what does being happy mean to you? And I kind of had to think about it. I mean, I have a picture in my mind of what it is, but how do you turn that into words or make that something tangible? So I think happiness to me is not filling voids in my life. It's complete confidence in who I am, complete contentment. I feel comfortable with myself. But not filling voids. I mean, I don't have people in my life that fill holes for me that I'm not filling, or I'm not doing things because something's not filled, or I'm, buying clothes because I'm not comfortable with the way I look, that sort of thing.
So you're not defining happiness in terms of an emotion and something that you feel?
I think it's that too. I think happiness is kind of a big thing. It's definitely something you feel. I think it's feeling joy, having enjoyment in the things you do, everything from sleeping to eating to taking a shower to being outside to finding enjoyment in the people that you're with and the things that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Or how do you define it?
Well, so I think if you're defining happiness as the thing, as a goal, that maybe when I've thought about it, I've thought maybe joy is maybe a better word for what's looking for. I think joy implies something internal that's manifesting itself externally. Like you're just a joyous expression of yourself. You feel joy at being alive, whereas happiness is something that I eat this brownie and I feel happy for a second, or, I got a good grade on this test and I feel happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think happiness can sometimes be misconstrued, and like you feel positive and good. You've got dopamine going through your body. You feel happy. But I think sometimes because happiness is a goal, it's something where you have happiness in the present without sacrificing future happiness, and happiness in the future without sacrificing present happiness. So what a lot of people do before they go traveling, and even before they even consider traveling as an option, this is something that's ingrained into us through our families and our schools and even our works, is not expecting to be happy now. You go into elementary school and they're telling you, oh, you got to do these things you don't like now, but when you get to high school, you get to pick topics you like, and you get to high school and you don't like the topics, and you're like, well, in university, you'll have more choice. You can do something you like. And in university, it's do this now so you can have a better job. And in your job, it's do this now so you can get a better job. And then later on, it's do this now so you can retire and be happy. And finally, when you're 65, you can be happy. So that's very much sacrificing happiness in the present for long-term happiness.
Yeah, that's very true.
So making that decision to go traveling is you're deciding, I want happiness now, first of all, and then I can work on not sacrificing my future chances of happiness. Because, for example, when we went traveling for 6 months, we're not making any money. We're spending a large portion of savings. That does, I think, in some way sacrifice, at least from a very normal, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but like the utility-based perspective. I'm spending all my savings now. That's going to be money that I won't be able to use for future happiness later, because money dictates what I can buy, and what I can buy and do dictates how I'm going to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
So in some ways it's seen as a decision that's taking instant gratification. You're sacrificing future happiness for present happiness. But I think we've talked about how going traveling can be something that allows you to kind of figure out what happiness actually is.
Yeah, and what
maybe
it truly means to you.
Mm-hmm. So with that, like, happiness, joy distinction, that's just definitions I'm putting on these words, but maybe I knew what happiness was before, when I did well at something and, went out with friends and had this positive emotion that I felt was happiness. But maybe I didn't feel this sense of joy in being alive. It was like a periodic thing.
Yeah.
And I think the goal of life should be happiness, and happiness as in just like a general happiness in being alive. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just ate a delicious treat, and like that makes me feel happy. But does that give me happiness in my life? No, I mean, 24 hours from now, I'm not even going to remember anything about the delicious treat that I ate 5 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas there's a lot of things that that are still in my mind, right? That are making me, dictating whether or not I feel happy as a whole.
Yeah. So another way to put happiness would be a sense of enjoyment of life, right?
For sure. A sense of fulfillment in life too.
And I think the way I look at it as, your life is the ability to experience emotion. We're not religious, so we're not living for, but that's a good, like I was saying earlier about postponing gratification. You can't be happy now. You should be happy in the future. The whole idea of religion is, you don't have any right to be happy in this entire life you're leading. You should do what other people want so that after you're dead, you have a chance to be happy in this heaven place.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so being alive is the ability to experience positive and negative emotions, because when you're dead, there's no experiencing anything.
Or so we think.
It's just nothingness.
Yeah.
So that if there's nothingness when you're dead, there's no point in experiencing negative emotion. The whole aim of being alive should be to experience positive emotion.
Yeah, for sure.
And that positive emotion being happiness. So you should be dictating your life in terms of, how do I get myself out into those happiness areas more often? Because if you're eating a tasty treat to be happy, yes, you may get like that spike to the happy side, but that long term, if that causes you health problems, other things like that, that could put you back on the negative side.
Yeah. My tasty treat is not giving me health
We did
problems.
yoga beforehand, so that should balance
Some gluten-free banana bread. Come on now. Could have been worse. So how do you think that traveling has allowed you to pursue happiness more than being at home?
There's a few ways. I think taking out the major thing you're spending your time on kind of allows you to get in touch with what you want to do.
So like work or school.
If you're not spending 10 hours out of your day preparing for going to and coming home from work, and then other time, dealing with the stress from that, you kind of have the ability to just experience life. Because so much of what happens when you're into these patterns of working and going to school, so much becomes autopilot. Your drive to work, for example, like how often are you thinking about, oh, that tree, like that's cool. There's a guy on a bike here. Well, I wonder what that restaurant's like, stuff like that. You know, you've seen it all before, so you're not even looking anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're traveling, you truly are seeing things for the first time. And when you see things for the first time, you're using your ability to see. Whereas like on your drive to work, there's plenty of things you could be seeing for the first time, like all those pedestrians, everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe there's a new bump in the road.
Yeah.
But you've turned off your ability to see new things.
Yeah, because you're just doing it by habit. I think it's, for me too, traveling is very much like when my day is completely free. Like I feel like I truly have freedom to just explore and do as I please and just be me. And when I have that chance to do that in a very non-judgmental setting, I feel like I can really dig deep into who I am.
And what you want too.
Oh, for sure.
Because when you wake up in the morning and you have to go to work, there's an implication there that your time isn't owned by you.
Yeah.
Even though you do make a decision to go to work, you don't have to, but a lot of people feel trapped in that. When you wake up wake up in a hostel, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if you're out there traveling, you wake up with your day before you, and your day exists for the sole reason to please you.
Yeah. That's like one of my favorite things about traveling. It's like waking up and it's like, what do I want to do today? What do I feel like doing?
Mm-hmm.
What do I not feel like doing? Because I'm not going to do that. And
Yeah.
I think that's so awesome. Like just thinking about it brings a smile to my face because it's just so amazing.
Yeah. And I know as we reintegrate back into a more routine lifestyle, some days when you wake up and do have that feeling of not wanting to do something, I get a longing for traveling. Like I just want to get out of here.
Yeah. It's like, oh, where's the next plane or to YYC going? Where can it take me so I can just have that freedom?
Yeah.
I mean, we've created a life here there where we do have a lot more freedoms than we did before.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but still it's, you know, and you still have to go to work. It's still that becomes.
Well, that's the thing. I think we're getting more in touch with the idea that you don't have to go into work. But even after spending 12 months of traveling, it's still a trap that you fall into where you're at work and you start to take things a lot more seriously than they really need to be taken. Because when you evaluate your life on a big picture, and come from the idea that you're here to be happy, like why do you put up with these bullshit things that you put up with?
Yeah, and I think that extends as far as like crap that happens at work to like crap that people put up with, like friends, family. You just don't have to deal with that when you're away from all of it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, when you're traveling, you're paying more attention, really seeing things for the first time. There's so much more texture to life that you kind of turn off from when you're at home.
Mm-hmm.
And you get bogged down with other stressors and things you're worrying about. It takes away your ability to enjoy things.
Yeah.
I would say. And also when you're traveling, you're like you were talking about with things from friends and work. So much of our behavior is habitual. How did you get into the situation you're in? It's a lot of people just run on momentum. You know, their parents raise them a certain way that dictates their behavior, that dictates who they become friends with, that dictates where they go to university. In university, that group of friends, they maybe have left their parents behind and kind of replace those roles with friends.
Even professors. I think professors, faculty, classes, schoolmates, all those things, they all like influence you.
Mm-hmm. But I think for most people, professors aren't necessarily they maybe put ideas into your head, but they're not that constant force in your life.
True.
So where I was going is that you end up in these situations based off momentum, not self-driven momentum, but externally pushed on you. And then so much of what you do is habitual. You go out on your weekends because your friends texted you to ask you to do something. You go to work because, you know, this series of events has happened. You got a business degree, so you feel like you have to work in business, etc.
And it just gets more and more. It's like one friend buys a house and it's like, oh, we should buy a house too.
Mm-hmm. But so much
friend buys a car. Friend gets married. Friend has a baby. You know, it's just like, it's like you're in a barrel rolling down a hill and you just like pick up momentum faster and faster and faster until you're at the bottom and you've, I don't know, exploded maybe.
Yeah. Or you get to the bottom and you realize that you never decided to go down the hill and you wonder how you got there.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. A lot of social behavior is very unconscious. So I think when you pull yourself out of that, pull yourself out of all the external forces that are pushing you in a certain direction, you can kind of get a better sense for the direction that you're actually traveling in.
Mm-hmm. And choose that direction, really.
Yes. Yeah. I think the first step is to see it.
Yeah.
And even when you're traveling, it's easy to get into, you know, a group of people and fall into the same roles, because there's definitely types of people that you encounter, and people's personalities are better suited to mesh up with a certain type of person, and maybe they can find that person on the road. But usually you will have the moments where you have kind of poked your head out of the water like a submarine scope and you can see where you are.
Sea otter. Like a sea otter. Those things are so cute.
Okay. Maybe. I don't know.
So one thing with traveling as well, linking to happiness, is you were kind of alluding to it before, with seeing things more clearly, is you're able to be a lot more present.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like your life is just on fast forward.
Yeah.
Like, it's like you can actually play the movie and be a part of it and like enjoy it.
Yeah. I think so much of finding happiness is about learning to see things properly.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that are great, pleasurable activities. For example, showering, you know, the feeling of hot water running over your body is an amazing feeling, or going out in the rain on a hot day and having like water on your skin, or maybe it's been cloudy and rainy and the sun comes out and shines onto your face and warms up your skin. Or you get to the top of a mountain on a hike, or even you're on your drive to work and you can see the city for the first time, and it's like these massive buildings that are, you know, spectacular, and you can really put that into context of what that would be like to see that for the first time, and you can really be amazed at what people are doing.
I think too, even like eating a really good meal. Like for me,
eating
it's
food
like
too.
Taking a bite and closing your eyes and just like letting the flavors be on your tongue,
Mm-hmm.
and just tasting them all.
There's so much pleasure and happiness like open to be had. Like if you sit down for a good meal, and that meal is just a possibility for happiness and joy to come into your life, and then people just sit there on their phones. I'm on my phone, I'm eating this delicious food.
Or
not
like
even
watching TV.
Yeah, not even thinking about the food. And then, you know, maybe they'll complain about not being happy.
Yeah. Or it's even too like going to like a restaurant or a coffee shop and having like a meal, or having like a drink or a meal with a friend, and, you know, really enjoying that food, but also having really good conversation. And if you look around, you can just see people like on their phones. It's like they're eating, they're like kind of talking, they're on their phones. And it's like, are you enjoying any of those three activities that you're doing?
Mm-hmm. There's a great Louis C.K. Thing where he's on Conan and he's talking about how people are always texting and driving. And maybe we'll post a link in the show notes to that video. He's talking about how people are afraid to be sad, so they're always on their phone. You pick up your phone because you don't want to sit with the sadness. He's talking about how he heard a Bruce Springsteen song and it hit him with his sadness, and he had this urge to pick up his phone, but instead he just sat with it and, you know, felt that sadness come over him, and then kind of was met with like happiness afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Because to tune out of sadness, you also tune out of the possibility for happiness. I think you're tuning out of wanting to experience emotion.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And so I mean, it's, how do you get this presence traveling? Do you think? Like, is it just inherent that anybody who goes, books a flight right now is going to experience this presence?
I think depending on where they go, I think that's a big part of traveling is you are seeing new things. And when you see new things, you pay closer attention.
When
so
you're like this sensory overload in a new place, it's like you're opening your eyes for the first time.
Yeah, like you drop down into Bangkok and you're like, what on earth is happening here? This is a totally different world. Like, you don't even consciously think about it. You're just paying attention to all these sorts of things. And I think when you're doing that, yes, as you're there, it becomes more habitual. You need to bring some level of, if you want to have a level of presence in your day-to-day life, you obviously need to be thinking about it. But I think a lot of people who do go traveling kind of realize this idea that traveling is so special because you're opening your eyes to see what's really there. You're seeing things for the first time. And that maybe you can bring that home with you. And you can try to see things. Or actually look and see what things are. Yeah.
So we've taken 2 separate 6-month trips. How did you feel when you came home from the first one?
The first one, I was met with a lot of depression at being home. And I think part of that was trying to deny the fact that it was ever going to end. 6 months seems like a really long time, especially when I was 21 at the time. I really didn't want to think about what was coming afterwards. We'd graduated university, and afterwards was a job. And I'd gone through university without any real desire to be doing what I was doing. I was just doing what I was doing because I had once sat down at a computer and picked a thing that seemed to make the most sense. Like, that's what I'm talking about when I say you're living your life on a momentum. Like, I was just there for no reason other than, like, maybe I don't even know who pushed the barrel. At some point I've just started rolling down a hill and showed up. And then so we left to go traveling, and it was like finally my life was about me for the most part. We were traveling together, so not completely. But I kept putting off what it was going to be like to go home.
Yeah.
Never want to think about it. I remember like kind of being met with panic the last couple of weeks of like, oh crap, going home. So then we came home and kind of got into this rhythm, and I was just so depressed about being home, wanting to go, and then not doing anything about it. And that depression kind of went away a bit, but never really like left me, and kind of got stronger until we went away again.
Did it go away, or did you just rationalize it?
What do you mean?
Like, I think we've talked about this before. Like, you're met with unhappiness, but it's like the idea, like, it could be worse.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, it's not that bad.
It's well, yeah, I mean, bad. It's accepting that philosophy that you don't have the right to be happy right now. I would go to work and feel like shit or whatever, not be happy at all, look at myself in the mirror, think like, what am I doing here? Like, I should be out doing something that really like ignites me. All my life I've just felt like I'm wasting potential.
Yeah.
But then there's a way out there to say, okay, it could be worse. Like, you could live in Africa and not have water. You could be dead. You could be dumpster diving like the people outside your apartment building. It could be worse. It could be worse. And that just takes away from the idea that anything less than you being happy right now it's not okay. And that's not to say that you should only be living for the moment, like we talked about before. You can't sacrifice future happiness for comment. Like, don't, like, if you were only singularly focused on being as happy as possible right now, like, you should go out and probably like get some heroin and like shoot that, because apparently that makes you as happy as ever. That's obviously not a good strategy if you want to be happy long term, though.
Maybe not.
And I think that's, so if you want to be happy long term, you need to realize that as a human, at least from my perspective, you need gratification to make you sustainably happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I noticed while traveling this last time versus the first time. The first time I was kind of just happy being in kind of having fun,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. So fun in being like reckless, like getting drunk, you know, doing bungee jumping, stuff like that. That was me being happy. And this time I really felt this discontentment with just traveling for the sake of
Like seeing stuff.
And then once we really started to learn Spanish, to feel like I was fulfilling potential, that started to be this gratification. And then I felt like that was the base for being happy, to really experience things. I remember being in Spanish school in Buenos Aires, and we went out for food, and it was like, I feel like this was on the last day of Spanish school. I'm feeling like you've accomplished something. Yeah. And then you can really enjoy things more than that. Like gratification is like the foundation that happiness is built upon.
Yeah.
Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, definitely. It's like, yeah, learning something new or doing something that really fulfills you can give you that sense of happiness. Like, I think I definitely got more out of our trip to South America than I did our other one, because it was very much focused on, you know, how can I take this time and freedom and really make the most out of it?
Yeah. And so that's to say, I think that a lot of people maybe might dismiss the idea of being happy now. If you look at the terms of being happy now as in never experiencing sadness, never experiencing pain, anything like that. But that's not what I mean. I mean,
I think happiness is being able to feel all those emotions and truly feel them, because you feel something so powerful, and like that can make you happy.
But what I mean, or what I was trying to get at, was that if you have a vision in the long term, that going through and working to achieve that vision is, that's, you know, that's happiness, that's contentment.
Yeah. A vision that you've created. Not any vision. Yeah. Not a vision that somebody else has put for you. Like, it's not a vision that you're...
Yeah. And
like, for example, like if you're working in a big company and your manager sits down and says, you know, this is the org chart here, and this is my vision for you at this company in 5-10 years. I don't think that's a vision to create happiness, personally.
Yeah, I think so. In my opinion, it seems, in my opinion, it seems to me like you need to be creative. You need to be fulfilling your potential. So I think that's possible in a job at a corporation. And I think one of the fundamentals about being happy is coming to the understanding that no one has the right to say what happiness for you is.
No, and that includes you and I. We have no right to tell other people what's going to make them happy.
No. But I think people know. I think people do lie to themselves about being happy. I know I don't know if lie to myself is the right word, but I fight not to see the truth.
Yeah, for sure.
Those are the things that make me feel the most anxious, when I'm fighting not to see the truth.
Yeah.
I'm squirming, and I just don't want to think about that thought that's going to make me unhappy. And the worst thoughts for me are the ones that I'm trying to avoid.
And it's usually when something really scares me. Like if I'm really scared of something, like you're really scared of the consequences of quitting my job or doing something by myself, or there's a lot of uncertainty, then I'll be like, oh no, like I'm fine with where I am. I'm fine with what I'm doing. You know, like I'm happy enough right now. But it's like, in that, for me, is if there's something that's scaring me, I should probably be doing it.
Yeah. No, yeah, you should be working through those fears.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think most people do have, if you're sitting alone at your house, you look at yourself in the mirror and think about where you want to be in 5 years, in 10 years. If nothing mattered, you know, if you were going to die in 10 years, what do you want to be doing?
Mm-hmm.
I think people would maybe have different answers to the questions about what makes them happy if they're the only ones listening versus the answers to the questions in front of other people, because there's a lot of like pressure to not admit that the things you have been doing aren't leading you in the direction to be happy. I know for me, going through business school and then a couple years in a job, that's only 6 years on that path, but it creates this level of sunk cost, especially with the degree of the feeling, oh, I can't do this because I have a degree. I can't get a job in a cafe because I have a business degree. You know, I'm wasting this. Like that, to me, that admits that I wasted 4 years of my life, which maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I think I could have put those years to better use, but I don't think I was in a position to do that at that time.
No.
But that plays into people not wanting to admit that, hey, you know, I've been working in this random spot for 20 years doing the corporate grind, you know, being nice to the people who are in positions above me and ordering the people in position below me down. And now I look in the mirror and I tell myself that I want to be a painter. I always have. It's like the amount of pressure on you to
not follow your dreams.
And not even, you don't want to see the truth at that point. That's a really tough thing to see. And even admit to yourself that's tough.
Yeah. And like, if you can lie to yourself, it's so much easier to lie to the people around you. Like you just create something. You create something fake and then you live it.
Yeah. So to bring that back to traveling, I think going out and separating yourself from the social context that you are in kind of relieves a bit of those sunk cost pressures.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, going traveling this past time for 6 months, it kind of, you're out there with all sorts of people who are in similar situations where they're kind of looking for something. And then there's a less pressure on you to be the way you are. Whereas in your group of friends, you know, you're person X who has X credentials and does X. And so for you to make a change, there's a lot of pressure, you know? It really threatens your whole existence. Whereas if your existence is kind of transient and, you know, you're backpacking or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I feel like for me, it was very much like being able to pull myself out of my everyday life. I was really able to get a good grasp on like what inspires me, what I really like to do. Like for so long, I've like had these ideas in my head about what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know, I've gone back and forth. Like, so I have a business degree with a major in marketing. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll work for an ad agency. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do that. You know, maybe I'd like this. Maybe I'd like that. And I just didn't have like, it's like I was a spinning top just in every direction. Like,
but it's,
maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'd like this. Maybe I'll go to school here. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but it's like you go to university, and then instead of university expanding your options, the choice you made to get into a certain field in university really defines your options. You know, you got a marketing degree, so now you feel like these are your possibilities, right?
Mm-hmm. And going traveling, it was like, what do I truly like to do? Like, what really like, so if I wake up in the morning and I have nothing that I have to do, what do I want to spend my time doing?
Yeah, your day exists as nothing but the possibility for happiness, and now you have the choice, and then you can figure out, you know, today I went and looked at cathedrals and that didn't really work, but today I drew some pictures, or today we did yoga, or today you wrote, you know, and you can start to test what things make me the most happy.
Yeah, like what really inspires me to be the best me that I can possibly be. And then, you know, once you've found that, how do you hang on to that? How do you come back and hang on to that? Especially if you come back to the same place. You know, how do you bring that back home?
Yeah. So that's the both times we went, the first time we very much were in live this moment because the next one's not going to be so good.
Yeah.
Was my mind state, was that yours?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think that had a very slippery grip on my happiness. And I think that getting back, I fell right back into the same pool that I was in.
So we
left.
were trying to not think about what was going to happen when we went back. And then you get back, and if you haven't been thinking about it, you haven't put intention to what you want to do. And we went back to the same place, fell into the same social circle, and we're doing the exact same thing, which isn't surprising.
No.
So the second time we kept it more, you don't want to be in a fight against reality, you know? Time is going to pass. You can't fight time. So you have to realize that at the end of your trip, if you have to go home to make money, how are you going to do that in a situation where you can continue to do the things that make you happy? Yeah. So that means when you're out on traveling, you can't ignore the impending end of your trip. And a lot of people do that.
And it's also like there was so much like dread coming home the first time. And like this time around, it was a lot more like, you know, once we kind of like talked about like how can we carry this over into our everyday life at home, you know, the idea of going home didn't seem as bad. Like, I mean, there's the anxiety there because if you're coming home with these new, new concepts of how your life is going to be, there's that fear of judgment. There's fear of like, maybe, you know, if people are going to judge me, maybe they're not my people anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a lot of anxiety that I had. And I felt that, you know, fortunately I do have a lot of great people in my life who have been very supportive of me since I came home. And I'm thankful for that.
But we did also make some changes. We moved to a different city when we came back.
Yeah.
How do you think that helped you in setting up a life that is more accessible for happiness?
I think for me, it's nice having the separation. I have about an hour from family and friends, just because then, you know, when I do go in the city or those people come out here, it's really more of a choice to see those people instead of feeling pressure to see, you know, people that I went to school with or that I worked with all the time.
And it's not so much pressure, it's not so much separation from those people as separation from the old you.
Yeah.
It's like your ghost has been left there and now you're fresh, and that instinctual behavior is an hour away.
Yeah, for sure. And starting a new job in a new place has given me the chance to kind of start fresh and just be me.
Yeah.
You know, there's no expectations from those people who don't know me to be somebody.
Yeah. So I think what I would say to someone who is thinking about incorporating positive changes they've made while traveling into their life when they return home is to think about the fact that so much of what they maybe didn't like when they were home is instinctual, unconscious behavior. And if you go back into the exact same situation, it's going to be very hard to break out of those patterns. So maybe making some changes will make it easier for you and kind of incorporate yourself back into that home life, but in a different spot.
Yeah, or in a different way. I think something that was important for me and perhaps for us, I don't want to speak for you, but was to set an intention for what life looked like coming home. And I think that really helped me. Mm-hmm. I think that has helped me to create a life that is more happy, filled with more joy.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
So check out our show notes for this episode at www.theworldwanderers.com. Our show notes are going to be a little bit different this time around. We'll give a brief overview of the podcast, but we're also going to give some of our favorite books on happiness and travel, some quotes that really inspire both of us, and just anything else that kind of inspires us around the topics of happiness and travel. So definitely check it out.
Okay, until next time.